So yeah, this is why I rate year 2 as the most stressful one. It's slightly moderate to high or like slightly high. So that's it about year 2. Alright, moving on to year 3. I think for year 3, it is obviously not super chill yet, but it's a bit stressful. I think it's still a bit stressful, but it's much better. Not much better. At least it's better than year 2 itself, because year 2, it's your first time doing a lot of things. You are a lot of responsibility I mentioned just now. But for year 3, things are getting, I would say, a bit quote unquote slow. Especially if, let's say, okay, for IS major, we are likely doing our capstone project during our year 3, either semester 1 or semester 2. So actually, after you've completed your capstone project, your modules will be typically much more chill compared to your previous semester or your year 2. But capstone itself is the stressful part. So I think the only thing for IS major, for IS students, information system student, during the year 3, the stressful part is during the capstone project itself, because for this capstone project, we are working in a group of 6 trying to develop a system for either a client or your prof, depending on the track that you're choosing. But it's typically you're working in a group of 6 doing a lot of codings, and the expected working hours, the workload. From my own experience, I actually spent almost 60 hours for that module itself during the first few weeks. No, actually not during the first few weeks. It's even until after week 6. I think only until from the week 1 up until week 10, like that, I spent weekly around 60 hours for that particular project itself, for capstone itself. And only after week 10, the total workload that I put in for that module goes down to about 40 hours, which is still a lot, by the way. So yeah, this is slightly the most stressful part, because you're supposed to work in a group of 6, and okay, maybe a bit of sidetrack. So try to make sure you meet a group, you have a good group to work on together, and it will be especially great if you can find a group of friends who actually love to code. So it will lessen the burden significantly, because otherwise you need to do a lot of codings here and there, and that's how you end up spending a lot of hours for this particular capstone project. So yeah, but after capstone project, actually for IS major, we don't have that much coding module anymore. After after capstone project, it's actually quite unquote, it's not totally chill, but it's much better already, because your modules are no longer coding heavy if you choose to. There are only some modules that requires coding, but if you don't choose that, then it's relatively okay already. They are likely just some sort of geared more towards the business sides of our IT itself. So your most stressful is likely for your capstone project. And another reason why maybe year 3 sem 1 is the most stressful is because some of you will also looking for internship, like your 6-month internship during your year 3 sem 1. So like I mentioned just now, I tried to look for one in year 2 sem 2, right? But because my friend wanted to do the capstone project during year 3 sem 1, I had to reject the offer that I get for year 2 sem 2, take that risk and do my capstone on year 3 sem 1, and I have to redo all the interview process again to look for another ATAP internship for my year 3 sem 2. So yeah, so year 3 sem 1, it was quite stressful, maybe comparable to year 2 stress level if, let's say, I'm doing like myself, I'm doing capstone and I'm also looking for an internship. So you're trying to send a lot of application, you need to do your preparation for interviews, and then you get rejected for a lot of interviews, a lot of companies don't even get back, and all this anxiety, and on top of that you still need to work on your modules, work on your school studies. So yeah, so this is definitely one of the most stressful time, I would say. But after that, which is like, let's say, the year 3 semester 2, for my case, I'm doing my ATAP internship. I think this is very chill. I think for internship, you will feel that it's much more chill than your school workload. I believe so. For my case, I think that my 6-month internship is on year 2 sem 2 is very chill compared to the amount of time I spent for school studies during my previous semester. So yeah, I think after your capstone, if let's say your IS major, after you have done your capstone, likely when you're doing your ATAP afterwards, your workload will be rightly much more chill already. Like it will not be as hectic as how it was in year 2. So yeah, I guess that's it. But again, this one also let me pick on my note a bit. But this also depends on how you plan your school schedules, because as you know, at NUS we are the one who are planning our modular, like when should I take certain modules, when should I take that modules, all of the schedule we plan ourselves. So it also depends on how you plan your timetable and also your modules that you wanted to take in each semester lah. So that's why I try to give context, so as to give you sort of like the understanding on how I rate the stress level. So for year 3 semester 1, I will rate it as moderate to high, the stress level, because I did capstone, and I think actually it's high lah. The stress level is actually high for year 3 sem 1 because I did capstone, and I also still do a lot of other modules, and also I'm looking for internship, for the 6-month internship. So the stress level is high. But for year 3 semester 2, because during my internship, the ATAP internship, I do not do any school project, I do not do any school modules. So that's why my workload is relatively low. That's why I can rate my year 3 semester 2 as the stress level as low, because you only focus on the internship, and it was quite nice. As long as you got quite a good company, they don't anyhow drop you any random workload, then I think your internship experience will likely be much more chill than your school experience, I would say. And like I mentioned just now, why is also moving on from here onwards, why it's going to be less stressful is because most of the modules actually will be less coding already, because you did the intensive coding during like year 2, and then for your capstone project, I think for CS modules or for CS students, you will also have some sort of like your final group project, that kind of, which is similar to our capstone. I think they do have some which is like the software engineering module or something, I'm not too sure, but I as far as I know, they do have similar modules on CS as well. So yeah, that's it for year 3. Alright, so for year 4, so for year 4, this is a bit tricky because there are a lot of variables already. Like for instance, some of us can do FYP, some of us do not do FYP, because FYP is not compulsory. FYP is not compulsory for computing students unless you're aiming for first class honors. So yeah, if you don't really, quote unquote, you don't really care about those things anymore, like myself, I actually don't really pursue those kind of things anymore, so you likely won't do it lah, so it won't really matter that much. But if you still wanted to aim for the first class honor, then you have no choice but to do the FYP, final year project. Final year project or final year paper, I can't remember, but you need to do FYP. So yeah, so that if you're doing FYP, maybe it might be a bit tough for your stress level might be quite high for year 4. But if you're not doing FYP, and because let's say for our case, for IS major, we can actually do internship to replace our FYP requirement, so it's not compulsory for us to do FYP. So that's why if let's say you choose to do FYP, likely your stress level might be slightly higher. But for us, if we are not doing any FYP, we just do normal modules, typically your workload will be much more chill. Your academic workload will be much more chill compared to all the other years except for year 1 sem 1. So like if you compare to year 2, you compare to year 3, then your year 4 will be very chill lah. And if you're doing IS modules, likely your IS module in your year 4, right, you almost, I think you can say you don't do any coding anymore. Like legit, you can do modules like with zero coding. So unless you choose to do modules with coding project lah, but if you hate coding group projects like myself, then you should just avoid that, because likely your IS modules, the level 4K or level 3K, which is for year 3, year 4 students, likely you have a lot of coding group projects. And I would say if you don't really have a good group mates that you know they love coding, they wanted to take that module, I would say just don't take it. It's not worth it, according to me. It's not worth it, because the stress won't be worth it. If you're really interested in that particular technology, in that particular course, you can just pick it up online, you can just learn it online on your own. Just take other modules and you learn it on your free time. I think it's more worth it, at least according to my opinion. If let's say you are interested in, let's say, mobile development, I think they also have some mobile development, but if you go and take mobile development, then it means that you need to make sure you have a good group mates for you to do the coding project together. Otherwise, you will be tanking the group projects and it will be very stressful. And I really don't think that it's worth it at all. It's better for you to just take other modules and you learn it on your free time. So Yeah, and how can you find out about that? I think I'll suggest you guys to go and read up reviews online. I think you can simply Google up online. I think there are some students who actually write reviews for the modules they took. So hopefully that modules that you are curious about, they do have the reviews, or you can try to ask around, like ask your seniors like how the module was, whether or not there's a group project, how was the project, things like that. So I highly suggest you guys to check that lah. And I would say in year 4 typically you still cannot escape from group projects. I think starting from year 2 onwards, you will have a lot of group projects for almost every single module. You likely have some sort of group project. So I highly suggest you guys to have, if you're able to, please do find a very group teammates for your project, because otherwise you'll be very stressful. I think this is a very important thing. I think I'm quite lucky. I'm quite grateful that I do have a group of friends where we do a lot of modules together. So for our group projects, it's a bit less stressful because we know each other. We know we do our work okay. So it's less painful doing the group projects. There are obviously times where I could not take module with this group of friends together. Let's say some of them are doing internship or I'm doing internship, so we have to, because we do our internships different time, so at different times. So there was one semester where I couldn't do any group project with them, so it was a bit stressful because I need to change my group mates. And yeah, I legit try to find a good group mates and make sure you guys stick around together for, if possible, for all the semesters, every semester, so it will be less painful for you lah. And yeah, like myself, actually during my last semester, which is this semester, I actually go and pick up modules. I just basically try to match my modules with my friend, because on my last semester I don't want to be stressful anymore. I want it to be more chill. I want it to be more fun. I want it to just enjoy, and I don't want to be burdened by stress from group projects. So I just try to match all my modules with my friend, and luckily we all match. So this semester I'm doing all my modules with my friend, and we are all in the same group. So at least not as stressful during group project. In fact, the group project is not, I would say it's very, very, very not stressful compared to the time where I am taking the group project with somebody else, or let's say the group project you don't get to choose the team members. So yeah, there are also some modules whereby you don't get to choose the team members. So do watch out for that. If that's the case, then I mean you have no choice. It really depends on the luck. Sometimes if you are not lucky enough, you might meet some group mates that are just terrible, which I experienced sometimes previously. But most of the modules in computing, you typically get to choose your group mates. So that's why I highly suggest you guys to find a good group mates that you guys can stick together all the semesters. So it will be much more easier for all of you as well. So yeah, and for year 4, I think another key point is that you are likely looking for a full-time job also. So for computing students, especially for us looking to do the work as software engineers, typically you actually start looking for it on your year 4 semester 1. So it's a bit quite stressful. So that's why I said that if let's say that's the part whereby you are likely more stressful, slightly more stressful, because you need to send a lot of application. And yeah, just like how you did for internship, it's all over again. Now it's a full-time job, you're likely to send a lot of application. Likely this time around there will be more interviews you get. You likely hurt back more, because let's say if you're not picky, if you choose, if you still also apply to startups and things like that, you likely hurt back more from all the companies. You're likely invited more to the interviews, but the stress part is that you will likely need to do a lot of preparation, doing a lot of coding practice, doing a lot of basically interview practice, practice yourself, and then on top of that you have your academic workload. And yeah, and you also going through multiple rounds of interviews, because for full-time job, unlike internship, typical internship you only have like 1 or 2 rounds of interviews, but for a full-time job likely there will be more than that. So you need to go through, most of them you need to go through quite a number of rounds of interviews. So yeah, and not to mention that a lot of rejection as well. A lot of companies likely will be rejecting, maybe to one reason or another. So I think it's quite a quote-unquote a normal journey, like if you get quite a number of rejection until you finally land one of the roles that you wanted. So yeah, so that I think is one of the most stressful part. But if let's say you manage to secure a full-time job during your year 4 semester 1, then I would say your year 4 semester 2 will be very chill already. So yeah, I think the most stressful part would be on the year 4 semester 1, whereby you are still trying to look for a full-time job lah. But for your academic workload, typically it will be okay already. It'll be relatively okay if you are doing your modules with your friend. So yeah, so now let's rate the stress level. So for my case, I would say for year 4 semester 1, your stress level will be moderate to high. Why moderate to high? Because it depends on whether or not you're looking for a full-time job. So that's the case. For myself, I was looking for a full-time job during my year 4 semester 1. So depending on how much effort or how much struggle that you face during looking for a full-time job, then it depends. If it's much more tougher, then likely your year 4 semester 1, the stress level will be high. But if it was okay, then it likely be moderate. So that's the stress level for year 4 semester 1. But if you manage to secure a full-time job, then your year 4 semester 2 will be chill. The stress level will be very low. I would say the stress level will be already low, especially if you're like me. Like I frankly don't really care about my academic performance already during my year 4 semester 2. I'm just not as intense as I was during my previous semesters. I think I take my academic study quite chill this semester around. I try to enjoy it much more, not caring or not worrying so much about the final grade for my year 4 semester 2. And I'm grateful also I managed to secure a full-time job during my year 4 semester 1. So that's why my year 4 semester 2, I would say it is quite chill. The stress level is relatively low because all things are quite okay already. So this is the time I would say you get to enjoy your school life a bit more. And yeah, that's why I said you really need to make sure to have a good group project. Like I mentioned just now, my year 4 semester 2, I'm taking all my modules with my friends. So all my group projects we are doing together. So that's why it's much more less stressful. So yeah, I guess that should be it for year 4 and all the years in NUS. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the review of 4 years of study at NUS Computing, NUS School of Computing. And this is obviously not super accurate recount. That's why I try to give the context. That's why I try to give an understanding on how I rate the stress level, what are the causes of the stress level, so that you guys can sort of understand the context a bit more, sort of like get the better picture of what caused the stress. And yeah, again, this is again all my opinions, all my personal opinions, and I try to be as transparent as possible. I try to be as descriptive as I can, so that you guys can understand it better. And yeah, I hope that this is useful. I'm not too sure how this is useful yet, but I hope this is useful. I hope that it can give you a better picture on how it is to be a student at NUS and all the years. I think I haven't really seen any such video yet, or not that I know of. So I hopefully this year-to-year explanation will be a good one, be it if you're a prospective student, or if you, let's say if you are being admitted already to NUS Computing, you're about to start your studies, or you are actually a NUS Computing student already. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. And yeah, if there's anything you wanted to say, if any question, feel free to drop the comment, or if you have anything that you want to share as well during your experience as NUS students, or if any question, just drop it in the comment and I'll try to respond to you as soon as possible. Alright, so I hope this has been helpful, and yeah, see you guys in the next video. See ya.